Hello and welcome to the world-famous Driving You Crazy podcast. This is the show where we talk all things transportation, even though my mouth sometimes does not work right. I am the traffic anchor for Denver 7 News, broadcasting once again from the confines of my automobile because it typically has better sound than the basement. And with me today, via Zoom, is the one, the only Denver 7 anchor, Nicole Brady. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, yes. I'm glad to be back.
Nice.
Glad. You're in your car. That has great sound, great acoustics. I don't know. What do I sound like? Is this okay?
No, it sounds a little tinny, probably because you're on your phone.
Little tinny?
Yeah, because you're probably doing the Zoom on your phone, and I don't think you maybe have the best Wi-Fi in the entire world.
Yeah, maybe not.
And I had to upgrade my Wi-Fi router. I've had this horrible TP router for a long time, and I've wanted to find a reason to upgrade, and so I did. And I got this discount, and I bought this other router, and it's fantastic. Fantastic.
Nice.
Yes, very happy.
When I was back at the station filling in on the anger desk last week, I realized, we can still sneak up to the audio booth. It felt very illicit,
Yes.
but
I would love to do that, but I am not allowed in the building.
I know, you're still not, but maybe once you are again,
yes,
we can sneak up to the audio booth.
That would be perfect. So what have you been doing for the past few weeks during the whole lockdown COVID thing, now that we can get out and around a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, it's been interesting. June has been not the greatest month because we moved. And most people know moving sucks. It is the worst. So we moved to a different house not far from our old house, but because of that, I took some time off from work. We also had some cousins visiting, and so we kind of...
What, you didn't quarantine them first?
Yeah, we did. They did quarantine. My niece and my brother, they quarantined, but after about a week of that, we started getting the cousins together. So we've sort of bent some of the rules, not the official rules, but our own level of comfort rules. And we've been going out to parks, and we went to the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo.
Oh, lovely place.
Which is open. Yeah, beautiful. I'd never been before. Great place. And so we've been going out and doing a few things like that. I mean, still just with each other. But then you start to see this week the cases going up all over the country, and you wonder if we're just headed for another big crackdown, or maybe at the very least a mask mandate coming soon, or whatever they can do to try to mitigate the cases from rising. So,
well, I know it was just last week that I described in great detail here on this show my trip from Colorado to Florida and all the changes that we as a family had to deal with due to the virus. And over the past couple of weeks, since I'm back, I basically have been back now for 2 weeks. I'm feeling fine, no issues. We kind of quarantined here at the house and not really going out very much. We did go fishing yesterday, but that's outdoors, no big thing.
Outdoors.
But I know the virus has exploded in Florida, just gone crazy with new records of cases coming up every single day, it seems like. And I can understand why, because looking back at the way the people were living, like there was no virus at the resort we were staying in. The pool was packed. The restaurants were busy with very few people, if any, wearing masks, especially the tourists. They didn't care. It was life as normal pre-COVID. And this is why we've seen the explosion of cases, I think, in Florida. And so I consider myself fortunate to be healthy. We didn't wear masks except for in the airport on the airplane. And when we were checking into the hotel, but they didn't really care. Everybody was just living life as if it was just fine. So that was fine.
Are there no restrictions on the numbers of people that could be in those places in Florida?
Not that I saw.
Because
No, in
here,
some restaurants,
Okay.
they were adhering to every other table where the wait staff was wearing masks, and some other restaurants were free for all. Come on down, eat at your leisure. Come on in, go on the patio, do whatever you want. We don't care. So it depended on what restaurant we were in and what part of that area of St. Pete, Tampa we were in.
You didn't eat at any buffets, I hope.
No, we did not eat at the buffet. We stayed away from all of the whether it was the Claim Jumper or the Country Buffet or any of the above.
Okay, good.
And one of the other issues we dealt with when we were wearing our masks at the airport and on the airplane, I wore my mask during the entire flight, only moving it over a little bit, to eat or drink something, right? And then just keep it on. The rest of my family we all wore our masks. Jolene, for a little bit, took her mask off, and she wears the not bandana style, but the scarf style, where it's that ski mask thing that comes around your neck and you just pull it up, right?
Kind of,
and then she was breathing in and out of her blanket, so that was giving her comfort. So she was still covering her full face. But I saw on the outbound flight from Denver to Tampa, there was a guy, at least a couple of people I saw, take their masks off, and they did not return their masks on their face the entire flight. It was off. Coming back, just about everybody, because the flight attendants several times reminded people they have to keep their masks on. They were more vigilant about the mask wearing whole thing. And now I see this story the other day about a passenger from Denver on a Frontier flight that was escorted off the plane by police in Los Angeles because he refused to wear his mask. He just wasn't going to wear it. I think it's the new fighting or the new drinking on airlines, where if you're not wearing your mask, you're going to get kicked off the flight. And then United Airlines takes it up a notch, and they're banning you from future flights for not wearing your mask. Not just get off now, don't come back. We don't want to see you. Hit the road, Jack. Drive or fly some other jackball airline. We don't want you.
Taking a stand, I guess.
Yeah.
On the airlines part, I don't understand the just not following the rules. I get people not liking masks. Most of us don't like wearing them.
No, it's uncomfortable. It's not unbearable. We had it on for 4 hours.
Yeah, but you never saw, occasionally you had grumbles. But when the TSA started making everyone take their shoes off, people weren't en masse refusing to do that.
No, they also had another option. They could get the clear or that clear pass where they could then go through, do the security check, and then they never have to take their shoes or their pants off or whatever off. They can just go through security because they're already made through that clear checklist.
You could do that. I just kind of feel like we all follow rules all the time. What is the big deal about the mask rule? That's the thing that
it can be uncomfortable for 4 hours or longer. Sure. And I understand that, but I'm telling you, the airlines, the only way they can fly is to be strict about about making people wear masks, because really it's the only way they're ever going to be able to fly and fully recover from this whole thing and get passengers in the middle seats, because there's no way they can get beyond even that without starting with the mask thing until, let's say, there's a vaccine and everybody's fine and the herd immunity deal and all that's going on, and we're just living with this as we live with the flu. Because this will pass. Right. I think next summer we're all going to be going, well, it really stunk last year, but we're all dealing with it now and everything's getting basically back to normal. I don't think it's going to last forever, but for the meanwhile, we have to deal with what we have to deal with.
Right. The thing is that I want data. I would love it if we could engage in these mass social experiments to see what happens in a safe way. And one of the mass social experiments you could do right now is make everyone wear masks, see if it helps. Getting outside again was also a bit of a social experiment. I was curious, as many were, what was going to happen once we all started going out again, and where would we see the outbreaks. And I'm hoping that in the very near future, we have a little bit better data on where some of these increases have come from. My understanding, at least in some of these places like Arizona and Texas and Florida, young people at bars has been.
Oh yeah, no, the bars in Florida were packed
as a source of this. Yeah, so I want to know where people are getting it, and so me going out and being part of the public again, that's a way to, as far as with me being low risk, I can safely go out just like all these other people, but we can see, is it still spreading? Where is it spreading? We need this data.
So you are just going to sacrifice yourself and go out and get the disease for the good of man.
No, I would not go to the bars and crowd around other people, but I did go. The zoo was pretty crowded. I wore a mask the whole time at the zoo, and they didn't really restrict movement the way I thought they were going to. I thought it was going to be a very strict sort of everyone can take 3 steps forward now and look at the giraffes. But no, it was a free for all in terms of where you could walk. We were all kind of trying to be respectful, I think, not crowding each other. But like you said, most people there didn't. I mean, there were a good number of people wearing masks, but a lot of people not wearing them. And most people were acting like it was just a normal day at the zoo.
Well, speaking of normal days at the zoo, here's us doing this show. What? All right, so I want to go. I'm shifting topics now. So what does a stop sign and the Burger King sign do you think have in common?
Oh, gosh, the Burger King sign?
The sign for the Burger King.
For the Burger King sign. Nothing. I don't.
No,
do they have anything?
they can both stop a car in autopilot mode.
Ah.
Yeah, if you have one of those fancy Teslas, there's a video from a guy who works for EV Network, and he's driving a Tesla in the autopilot mode, and he's driving his car down a road that has a section that goes down. So he's driving flat, and up ahead, the road goes down. It just goes down an elevation to another road, right? Well, there's a tall sign at a Burger King right there, and the way it looks, because the Burger King is down, right, in a lower elevation, the sign is high on the pole, but it looks like to the car and to a person too, as you're driving forward, that there's a stop sign, like a floating Burger King sign up ahead. And so the autopilot sees the shape and similar color to a stop sign and starts slowing down the car.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sort of, and it's an optical illusion of this tall sign, and so it's freaking out the autopilot. So Burger King, not one to let a good video go to waste, used this video as a promotional opportunity and was giving out free Whoppers if you are in a autopilot mode. And you use their BK app, and you shared a picture or a video of your dashboard at a Burger King restaurant, you get a free Whopper.
All right.
So there you go.
Because a Tesla owner needs a free Whopper.
Yes, they do. I don't have a smart car with autopilot. I have my Chevy Volt that is also electric with the gasoline generator in it. So I do have at least an advantage over those Tesla drivers, because I could keep going forever and I don't have to stop at their little fast charging stations. I can just gas it up and go.
Yeah, which well, interesting. I mean, is this seen as something interrupting our transition eventually toward autonomous vehicles?
Yeah. Well, there's these little bugs to work out, occasional bugs to work out in the whole autopilot mode for most of these autonomous vehicles. So I don't eat really at Burger King or McDonald's or any of the fast food things anyway, because it tears me up something special inside at my advanced age. I'm not super old by any means, but my colon's had some work. I've had some colonoscopies. I've had the polyps. So, it just tears me up something special. So I just don't go there.
It's a good choice. Good choice.
All right. Do you remember the movies back, I think they were in the 80s? It was called Cannonball Run.
Yes.
Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., all the rest, right? It's basically a race more of a speed race, if you will, between New York City to Redondo Beach, California, to see who can make this cross-country trip in the fastest amount of time, really the lowest amount of time, I guess, right?
Yes.
So in an episode back in December, there was this trio of guys who made the run in 27 hours, 25 minutes, and I detailed one of those latest records set by those three back then. But now there is an unconfirmed report of another record set by a solo driver making the Cannonball Run in 25 hours and 55 minutes. An hour and a half better than that team of three drivers. That's an average speed of nearly 108 miles an hour.
Whoa.
Yeah. All right, it was 44-year-old Fred Ashmore from Hancock, Maine. He rented a Mustang GT, and so he didn't use his own car. He used a rental car. He took out the passenger seats. He took out all the other interior accessories from this rental car. Then he strapped in enough extra fuel tanks to make the capacity of the fuel about 130 gallons. And then he made the trip from Red Ball Garage in Manhattan to the Portofino Hotel and Marina in Redondo Beach with only one stop for fuel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's insane. How does this work? Do these people attempting this alert anyone, authorities, I'm sure they don't.
Oh, no.
How do they not get pulled over?
What they do is they have a myriad of ways. So what they do is they use Waze. Some people, they actually have spotters down the road that are watching for police. They'll have people drive a certain section for them and watch out for speed traps. And
I see. Okay.
And then they'll also get alerted by using police radios or apps that have scanner radios on it as they're making their trip.
Sure.
So they're listening to see where speed traps are, where the police are. So that's how they can get away with it, or at least they can try to get away with it. Now, Fred, he maintained contact with a couple of friends driving a pickup truck with 150 gallons of gasoline, sloshing around the back of their pickup truck in this bed-mounted fuel tank. And then they coordinated a meeting just off of I-44 to refuel the entire Mustang in just about 8 minutes. And other than that, and a 25-minute wait at the agricultural inspection station entering California, he didn't stop. He just kept going and going and going. And he says adrenaline and mental calculations for time, speed, and fuel consumption kept him awake for over 24 hours.
Oh my God.
He said there was a close call with the police towards the end, and he avoided taking avoided the police by taking a spin around a series of cloverleaf turns, he said, to avoid the police. But because the solo effort has got to be so much more difficult than a team effort because you're all by yourself. You're not stopping to go to the bathroom. You're all alone.
Or switch drivers. Yeah.
Right, and you're all alone for over 24 hours, so you have to stay awake somehow, and you have to be
one to talk to.
alert, and you have to be quick on your mind because you're watching things coming at you really, really fast. It's got to be way tougher than having a team of people, I think.
Oh yeah, no, I think just not having anyone else to talk to the whole time would be enough to drive you crazy. I hope he had some good music and podcasts.
Right, yeah, I don't know about that. I would think that would distract him.
Extremely focused. I mean, I think, you've probably driven 100 miles an hour at some point, right? You find yourself on a road and suddenly you're going that fast.
I think the fastest I've ever gone is 125.
Okay, there you go. I mean, I don't know. I guess it can, if the road is empty, you can cruise at that rate. But you're also trying to maintain some focus and that I don't know. I honestly, I mean, how often are people who are completing these drives, are they able to find stretches where they're just sort of on open road for a long time? What's their route that they're taking?
I think
usually,
there's a couple different routes for the most part, but they go through the middle of the country, just north of the center of the country, and it depends on which route they think is going to be the best without police. Okay. So, but they don't always take the exact same route, but for the most part, there is one major route that most of them go through. Now, this guy,
Okay.
he says he didn't spend more than $3,000.
Did he come through Colorado?
Not that I heard. No, I didn't hear that he came through
Okay.
Colorado because there's too much winding and slowdown on I-70. So they usually stick to farther north, like through Wyoming or Montana, where it is more wide open, more straight. But then again, you have to come farther south to get into Redondo Beach in California. So sometimes they'll go across that way and then head south, or sometimes they'll head south and then head across the country. So it depends on which route they want to take. But he says that he says he didn't spend more than $3,000 for all the equipment and the car and everything else. And even though this trip by Fred was impressive, it's quote unquote not really verified, because there's supposed to be verified GPS data that is a standard measure of proof, and that's why this is alleged that he did it in this amount of time, because he did send pictures back to his sister and to his girlfriend. He took screenshots of his tracking app that he was using, and he sent these updates, and he had his refueling team that checked in with him, and he had his odometer that he took pictures of. So he does have a lot of proof, but I guess there's some quote unquote sanctioning body that makes sure that it all is all legit. Too legit to quit.
Yeah, so he might not get the credit for this.
I think it's pretty cool, though. Still,
it is. It's amazing. How long did that take them in the movie? I don't remember.
I don't remember. I think they all stopped overnight because they had weird bar episodes, and because they had to make it more entertaining, right?
Make it more entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, you got to have Dom DeLuise out there doing whatever Dom DeLuise does. God rest his soul. All right, so AAA. I was reading this new forecast came out from AAA, and it says that we Americans are going to be traveling this summer, just not as much, obviously, because of the COVID thing. And they forecast 700 million trips between July and September, and that's going to be down nearly 15% from last year. And they say it's the first decline in summer travel since 2009. However, there is a big however in all this data. They say that over year to year, car trips are going to decrease by just 3%. That's it, just 3%. But air travel will go down by 74%.
Wow.
So it looks like it's going to be the summer of the road trip, where more people are going to be driving rather than flying. They say rail, cruise ship, and bus travel will go down by 86%. Well, obviously, nobody's going on a cruise ship right now. They still won't let them operate in U.S. ports, I think, until at least August or September now. So people will think that being in their car or being in an RV or going camping is their safest travel option, and this is going to be the summer of the road trip. And I was talking last week, I think last week or the week before, we were, as a family, looking at doing a road trip here in July and renting an RV, either a private one or you get it from a company. There are none to be found. You cannot find an RV anywhere. There you go, Nicole. There's your next story. Go call an RV place and see how busy they are and how nobody can get an RV for summer travel.
I had heard a little bit about that early on, even that RVs were rising in popularity. My sister just got one, so she must have gotten lucky and got in quickly there. But they're expensive too.
Oh yeah, they are.
I'm surprised at what people will pay to stay in an RV. It's fun. It's an adventure, I'm sure. But yeah, that's that is a good story. I will look into, and maybe we'll find some people doing weird things like outfitting old vans and working.
Well, I did a story
DIY
about this
RVs.
company. There is a company in Boulder that will outfit. They actually do van rentals. They do these camper van rentals where you can rent them from them, and they do it in Denver and Boulder, and they rent out these camper vans, and you can drive them for a couple of days, or you can drive them for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And we actually did an interview with them, I think it was last year or the year before, and
Nice.
they're really interesting guys, but I should look up that episode for you. And by the way, speaking of Denver has now climbed to the top searched city destination among all AAA travelers. So
wonderful.
that's a problem. It used to be Orlando because everybody was going to Disney World. Well, Disney World is closed as far as I can remember. I don't think it's open. I know Disneyland has not opened yet.
Not yet. Yeah,
so
I know they're planning to maybe reopen. But
so fewer people are going there, and people want to drive out here. Perfect.
Yeah. Come bring your coronavirus to our state.
So the top 10 here for AAA.
Hopefully if they are coming in their cars and RVs and going camping, things will be okay. And people will be respectful and responsible. I did hear that up in the mountains there were some people leaving signs on cars with out-of-state license plates. You heard this story saying, we don't want you here. I don't think that that's how we should treat people. For one thing, you could just, what if you have a rental car and it just has an out-of-state license plate? I mean, who knows?
Good point.
Where these people have come from. But no, I would hope people just continue, again, to be respectful and responsible. Don't crowd around other people. If you want to come to Colorado and go camping, I mean, there's only so many campsites as there is. So go, enjoy, and then go back, and hopefully we won't have a problem.
But I guess technically, if you're in your car or an RV or in a camper van, you are technically quarantining yourself away from everybody else. If you are just yourself in the car, it's only when you're mingling out at a restaurant, and maybe if you're getting takeout, it's really not that bad. So you're kind of like quarantining inadvertently and vacationing at the same time.
I think so. I think that's how people are looking at the camping and RV camping, or anything with a car, that we're seeing a revival of drive-ins and things like that, where we feel like the car might be our safest place to be right now.
So here is the top 10 most searched destinations by AAA travelers. Number 1 was Denver. Number 2, Las Vegas. Number 3, Los Angeles. Number 4, Seattle, which is interesting because both LA and Seattle are having, I think, a resurgence of the disease. Phoenix, Arizona at number 5. Again, a huge resurgence there. Portland, Oregon at number 6. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It's a fun little town at number 7. Orlando is 8. I think Universal Studios is open, but you have to wear your mask the whole time, and there are certain rules about how you can ride the rides. San Diego at number 9, and Nashville, Tennessee, coming at number 10.
That's interesting. I mean, why aren't people going to Montana right now? Again, Wyoming, somewhere where we've had low cases and there's no people for miles.
Right, exactly. That, you would think that people would go out into those places. And in collaboration with INRIX, they are a traffic flow data company. They're the ones that you see on Google Maps that are measuring how people are getting around. They provide really the flow data of the red, the green, the red, yellow on their maps. Well, with INRIX, AAA analyzed the top 20 metropolitan areas and all the states to estimate where travelers may run into traffic as they're going on these road trips. So here's the good news from AAA. They say the top 20 metro areas will remain below typical summer travel congestion, although a number of states could expect to see travel congestion rise to normal commuter levels, although they'll stay well below the usual summer traffic patterns, which is interesting. So they're saying that, traffic is coming back, and I'm seeing this exact same thing. We're seeing a lot more traffic, especially in the morning commutes. Still seeing a lot of traffic in the afternoon drive. But it's still going to be lower than it has been in the last couple of years because there's still a lot of businesses that are not allowing workers back in the building, like me. There's still a lot of people working from remotely. Still a lot of people that are not coming back to work yet. But I think there's going to be another wave of people coming back to work as soon as the unemployment checks run out from the federal government, the extra checks. Because I've heard, and I'm sure you have too, that there are still a lot of people, especially the service workers, who are still not returning back to work because they're making more on unemployment than they would if they came back to work.
Right.
And so once those people start coming back to work, you're going to see more of the cars. And then we'll see how the whole school, because really when school starts back up in the fall, that's when really a lot of people start hitting the roadways. You would be surprised to see how many people are employed by schools and how it changes the traffic patterns. You have tens of, and really in a whole metro area, hundreds of thousands of people working for school districts, and they're all traveling at about the same time, going to different districts because they're going to their different schools. And then the parents have to travel to get their kids to school or drop them off the bus or drop them off at daycare, whatever. But it really changes the traffic patterns in the fall when the school starts up.
I know you always said that, and I've always been surprised at how much that changes from July to August. So, yeah, and this year, they're likely going to suspend some school bus routes or have to reduce how many people can ride the buses. So I would imagine a lot more people will be relying on mom and dad to get to school.
Yep. So I'll see how all that works out. And there's talk about who's going to stay home and what kids are going to stay home. And we're having that debate in my house. Do we let them go back? Do we let them stay home? How is this all? Do we let them go to begin and see if that works out? And if it doesn't, bring them back home so they can remote learn. I don't know how that's going to work out, but it will change the traffic patterns as we get closer to the fall.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then AAA expects the national average for gasoline to remain around $2.25. They say it's about 15% lower than last summer, and it's really the cheapest gas we've seen for several years. But they also recommended, when AAA put out their information, they say you should wear disposable gloves or use a plastic sandwich bag to avoid touching the pump handle with your bare hand. And then when you get back in your car, make sure you clean your hands with sanitizer or wipes. I can see the gas pump always as a big spreader of disease, and I am really, that's the one place that I am at least very conscious about using the sanitizer before, during, and after I do something. I use it during my entire experience at the pump.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm a little crazy that way.
Yeah, that's the only place I've actually put gloves on at times. I haven't always, but a couple times I've had gloves in the car. I put them on and then dispose of them there. I know it's weird. It's gross.
But this is the first time I've heard of somebody saying we should use plastic, like the sandwich bags, as a makeshift glove. I suppose it would work, right?
Yes.
Not the little snack bag, but maybe the sandwich bag.
Depends on the size of your hands, yeah.
I mean, with my big old meat hooks here, maybe I need the gallon size bag or at least the quart size.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. I guess just sanitize. I don't know. Maybe I'll start carrying around Lysol spray and spray them off. Do a favor for me and everyone else.
There you go. See, you're doing something for society, Nicole. You're helping out everybody by spraying down. Now, nobody's going to look at you a little bit odd like they would about 6 months ago. 6 months ago, they'd go, what is that woman doing? But now everybody would go, wait, can I borrow some of that too?
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing how times have changed. All right, so one last story I wanted to get to before we run out of time here. There's a lot of states, Colorado included, that has a program that allow for businesses to sponsor a section of highway to keep it clean. I've actually thought, and I need to bring this up to our general manager because I thought this would be a good way for us to advertise as well, is to suggest that we, as a station or just for Denver 7 traffic, to go to the highway department and then sponsor a section of highway or several sections of highway. I think it's a good way to get our brand out there and to show that we're helping out the world, right? So what you do is you apply to the DOT, you pay a fee or whatever, you or a company, and then they send out people, or some cases you as an individual or a group of people will get together and you go do the cleanup work along that section of the highway. Well, can you guess what industry specifically in Colorado is the leading sponsor of these clean highway areas? Hmm.
Well, I already know the answer. Yeah, you kind of teased it a little earlier.
It is the pot industry. Yay! That's right. Cannabis companies, pot shops, they account for cleanup on 2/3 of the roadways in Colorado that are maintained by Clean Colorado. All right, the second question is great. All right, that's good. Thank you for sponsoring all these roads and making our highways cleaner. They could be cleaner even than what they are now, but thanks for at least doing something. So why are they doing this? One simple reason. They're taking advantage of the strict loophole. There are strict advertising restrictions on cannabis companies, and they're going around the state by using this loophole so they can get their business name out there. Good for them. Yeah.
I wonder who came up with that first.
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably it's just some intrepid guy who goes, why can't we sponsor that and get our name on there, and just figured it out and said, hey, if it's working for us, then all the other ones have jumped on board.
Yeah.
Currently.
Yeah, clever.
In the state of Colorado, there are 51 cannabis dispensaries, cultivators, manufacturers, and edible producers sponsoring roadways throughout the state, and it reaches about 200 miles, or about 66% of all the roads that are actively sponsored by this program. Now, the business category with the next highest level of participation is general services like ad agencies or pest control or plumbing, real estate. They represent about 13% of the miles sponsored. The other sponsors include retail at 8%, restaurants at 4%, and casinos and hotels at 3%, mostly around those casino areas, the casino towns in Colorado. Now, the agency called Clean Colorado, they have these signs placed along the highways, and they put the name and the logo of local dispensaries and grow houses all over the major highways. You've probably seen them if you drive, if you've driven around Colorado, if you've driven especially around Denver. And they're strategically placed near the exits where passerbys can find those local businesses. Boom, it's advertising for them. And so if you want to, I'm interested in that, and then boom, it's right there at your exit, and you pull over, and there it is, and that's no accident.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I know I've seen the cannabis companies, their signs in Denver. I can't think of a lot of other specific businesses that I've seen. None have registered with me, is what I'm saying.
I've seen some of the plumbing ones, or some of the general contract ones. Restaurants. I've seen the casino ones. But yeah, it's but I've seen the pot ones all over the place.
The pot ones, definitely.
So Colorado's rules governing how and where the cannabis companies can advertise are pretty strict. So in an effort to prevent marketing messages from reaching minors, state regulators prohibit cannabis businesses from putting ads on TV and radio and in print unless they can prove that the audience is predominantly 21 and older. And I don't know how they do that unless it's a specialized magazine that's only sold to people who are 21 and older. Digital and social media platforms are even more restrictive, and not just here in Colorado, which bans cannabis-related pop-up ads, but in other states where it's legal. But that's one reason the state-sponsored highway program is a magnet for marijuana businesses. Yeah. Now, the State Department of Transportation says the signs are not intended to be an advertisement or a way to advertise for these products. The state doesn't make a profit from or spend money on these programs. They save money by outsourcing the cleanup on the sponsored stretches of highway to these cleanup companies. And so, they're able to clean up and at least keep the state cleaner by getting money from these pot companies. So great. Why not?
Yeah.
I see it as a good thing. State gets some money, clean up the roads, make it less gross. It's not a bad thing, right?
And harmless. I mean, the advertising is not as in your face and flashy as maybe it would be if it was on TV in a magazine or on a pop-up ad. So I don't see any I don't see too much harm.
The kids are not really paying attention to this anyway. I mean, they're already when they're in the car, they're got their face buried
in
into
their phones.
Now I don't let my girls. They don't have a phone. Actually, Jaylyn, my now 6th grader, she has a phone, but it's only able to connect to Wi-Fi to work. So she can at home she can text her friends and do that. So she has a little Google Voice number, and but she doesn't have regular data access or any of the access that a regular phone would have. So I make them look outside, and they'll maybe play some games and stuff. But I think it's good for them to look around and look outside. So they might see it, but they don't really pay attention to those sort of things.
Well, I'm going to start a new road game then. Spot the pot shop signs for the kids. You know, we'll instead of the alphabet game that we've been playing on our trips, we will we'll talk about the advertisers and who's keeping our roads clean.
There you go. That's perfect. Well, I was going to get into this other pot story, but we're running out of time, and there were some other stories I wanted to get to, including a story that I was interesting. I'm going to try to get a guest on for next week. I completely just spaced out what it was, so I can't tell you. I can't even tease what it's going to be for next week. But I know it was in my email that piqued my interest, so I'll see if I can get that interview hooked up and bring that to you next week.
Just retape that part here. I'll go, oh, that sounds interesting.
Ever the smart one, Nicole. Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right. If you ever want to reach the show, you can by shooting us an email at DrivingYouCrazyPodcast at gmail.com. You can always call the voicemail number at 303-832-0217, 303-832-0217 is the phone number, and that way you can just leave us a voicemail, boom, and we can put you on the program. We love hearing from people, don't we, Nicole?
We love it. But I love callers. Voicemails are awesome. Mike Nelson gets some great ones. So Jason needs to get some of these.
We definitely or you. I mean, maybe we need some praise and complaints about you.
Yeah, feel free. Complain as much as you'd like.
It's the old roast me. All we need is a sign that says roast me, and roast me via voicemail.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, that wraps it up for today. Thanks again for listening. Thanks again for being here. And until next time, I'm Jason Luber, the traffic guy.
And I'm Nicole Brady. Quarantining a little less these days, but, we'll see. We may be back to lockdown status soon.
Perfect. Be safe, and as always, happy motoring.